TBD, Justin Hunt, it's all happening. Kendrick Lamar's doing interviews again. Makes sense? He's got a lot to talk about. The Element video dropped this week. He's smacking all kinds of heads. He took home a BET award. He's got a tour coming up. You can check all this out on Ambrosia for heads. He hit 2 LA radio stations this week. There's a 35-minute conversation on Power 106 with The Cruise Show. There's also a 53-minute conversation with Big Boy on The Neighborhood. That's Real 92.3. There's a rivalry between these two stations, and Big Boy falls at the center of it. It taught me a valuable lesson. This is TBD.
Static Selector.
Big Boy's been the king of LA radio for 20 years plus, and before he took his talents to Real 92.3, he called Power 106 home. Power was the largest hip-hop station prior to Real's 2015 arrival, and Big Boy's decision to dip didn't go down smooth. Power's parent company, Emis, filed suit in an attempt to keep him from joining iHeartMedia. Emis had the option to match any offer, they said, which they did, they said, but Big Boy still decided to bounce over to Real. The two eventually settled, but this was a big deal with big repercussions. Within a year of Big Boy's move, by the end of 2015, Emis reported a 5.1% loss in revenue and laid off 32 people, while Real 92.3 became LA's new reigning champ, #1 in America's second largest market, and the crowd goes wild, as if Mayweather has just won the fight. Remix. But the way they captured the market was relentless and unforgettable. They had huge billboards all over LA that said Big Boy moved. They would send street teams with picket signs protesting outside of Power events, like their annual Powerhouse concert in Anaheim. Ak and I were out there for that. That was ruthless. They had Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, Ice Cube, Chris Brown with wild drops saying things like, "This is the real station over here. That other station ain't the real station." Or, "When I'm at that other station, it's all business. Over here, it's family." They were just straight throwing shade all over Power. They did this too. Every time any radio jock cut to commercial, the last thing heard was Real 92.3, home of Big Boy hip hop and R&B, which felt as if the station was saying Big Boy is bigger than the genre themselves. They weren't, but they needed to do that. I asked Big Boy about that a couple of years ago. Roll the clip out.
When you say it that way, it sounds crazy, you know, but also just with being in the marketplace and having your career with a brand for so long that you had to come with, you know, home of Big Boy. You had to come with Big Boy moved. You know what I'm saying? Because you were so automatic with saying Big Boy from or Big Boy, you know, it's tattooed in your brain. You do have to kind of bang people over the head. I'll keep it real with you, some of the stuff was uncomfortable, but I had a conversation with Doc, and you do have to kind of set yourself on fire for people to notice. If you're in a room, you gotta scream to get people attention, and I think that that's where a lot of that came from.
You do kind of have to set yourself on fire for people to notice. There's always that one moment, that tipping point right before things break big, when it seems like someone's screaming fire in a stadium. The Breakfast Club had that moment 5 years ago. This was back before their rise to ubiquity was certain. Then Ray J got in a fight with Fabulous in Vegas. Remember this?
Yo, hey, DC.
After that incident, Ray J called into the Breakfast Club and aired out Fab all over the airwaves. Here's a clip.
So how dare you even speak disrespectful to me? You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it was. So when I seen him, I was with Floyd and 50, and he tried to say, "Don't touch me," and I touched that nigga. Straight up.
Did 50
with him.
That's absolutely a classic conversation. That'll forever be a classic conversation, but check out how the Breakfast Club described what that conversation did for their brand. This is from an interview with Bill Simmons last fall.
When you guys did the Breakfast Club the first year,
Terrible.
I'm sure you would have loved it.
We almost got canceled.
We almost got fired. No, seriously.
We might have been one show away.
Ray J saved us. You know Ray J?
Do I know Ray J?
He was on coke and all kind of stuff. He called the radio one morning and just went in on a rant to a rapper named Fabulous.
We put him on live.
And it was
accident.
amazing.
He said he wouldn't curse, and then the first thing he said was, "Fucking fuck." Like,
he told Fabulous, "I got goons that will turn you around and rape you in your booty."
He did.
That's strong.
Ratings gold.
Isaiah Thomas didn't say that to me.
Jesus, that sounds jail ready. But that was the tipping point for The Breakfast Club. That interview went super viral. In the days later, images of Fab with a black eye hit the web. Some things you can't plan for, true, but for The Breakfast Club, a coked out Ray J calling was the equivalent of screaming fire in a stadium. Everybody and their mama tuned in to see what was going on. Complex notched the Stadium Fire trifecta this week, and it was glorious. They had Vic Mensa versus DJ Academics, they had Joe Budden versus Migos, and inexplicably Joe Budden versus Academics. The resolution, sadly, is pretty anticlimactic, no need to regurgitate the details, but all the way up until Academics' energy changed Thursday morning on Everyday Struggle, it was golden internet. If you hadn't heard about Everyday Struggle before this week, you absolutely know about Everyday Struggle now. This one was so good, it reached the coveted ripe for conspiracy theory status. If someone came up to me and told me everything outside of Joe Budden getting checked twice by quality control was completely fake, staged, fraudulent, manufactured by Complex, I might not agree, but I'd understand because that's how important it is to scream fire in a stadium, especially if you're a burgeoning brand, especially these days. Redef published an interesting article about this, the age of abundance, how the content explosion will invert the media industry. It describes how there's more content creators than consumers of content. The era of big media dominating in a traditional fashion is gone, and now the influencer curator reigns supreme. Here's how the writers describe the disruption. Plummeting music sales and unprecedented competition have made launching a new artist so expensive that catalog sales now make up more than 200% of major label profits. In 2014, David Goldberg privately encouraged Sony Entertainment CEO Michael Linton to essentially halt A&R efforts as well as investments in actually making new music. With the democratization of media creation, it's easier than ever to make content, but harder than ever to make a hit. The entire media business is inverting. For decades, scarce capital and constrained distribution capacity meant that the media's industry bottleneck sat in the middle of the value chain. Today, however, the bottleneck has moved to the very end, consumer attention. This shifts the balance of power from determining what should be made to finding a way to convince people what to watch, listen to, or read in a world of infinitely abundant content. Translation, sometimes you gotta scream fire in a stadium. Look, marketing isn't a new concept, advertising's been around for a while, but an inverted market means everyone has to push farther to grab attention. It's like we're all Dave Chappelle and Half-Baked having to show our ass to get what we need.
Hey, black ass! Ha 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 ha! Hey, why you didn't warn us earlier, eh?
Sometimes that may require strategic rap beef right before your album drops. J. Cole leaned on that strategy for his past 2 releases. Sometimes that means a beat-eating media blitz complete with multiple press releases about your plan to battle a predatory bail industry, then releasing arguably your most conscious album yet exclusively on America's 4th largest network, pissing off everyone who don't have Sprint or Tidal, adding another layer of tension to an already trending topic. Sometimes it means tweeting wild word vomit when your healthcare bill goes craptastic, or when another member of your campaign staff is tied to Russia, or whenever there's a need to change the conversation, or when a distraction also happens to be convenient. It feels like we hear more about the inexplicable things Trump tweets than we hear about his policy, or even the marches in response anymore. Are they still doing that? Philando Castile, the officer who shot Philando Castile, he got off. I don't recall seeing Black Lives Matter trending. Is the resistance reaching protest fatigue or not? This was weird too. The term internet tax crept into the lexicon this week when Trump lambasted Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the owner of the Washington Post, and he's also CEO of Amazon. In his tweet, Trump said, #Amazon Washington Post, sometimes referred to as the guardian of Amazon, not paying internet taxes, which they should, is fake news. No one knows what he's talking about. All kinds of think pieces were written trying to unpack whatever he might have meant. There's currently a ban on internet taxes at the state and local level. Maybe he's referring to sales taxes on products purchased through the internet. Who knows? But net neutrality is probably the most important issue for people who make a living off the internet or just enjoy having Netflix stream as fast as possible. The Trump administration is in favor of weakening the laws which are aimed at maintaining a level playing field for companies on the internet. internet. Here's something you might have missed. Officials are questioning whether bots are flooding the FCC with bogus calls to weaken net neutrality. The top Democrat on the House Energy and Commerce Committee wants the Department of Justice and the FBI to look into fake comments being filed to the Federal Communications Commission about net neutrality. Reports have found that potentially hundreds of thousands of false comments have been filed to the FCC, both in support of and against net neutrality measures. Some of the comments have impersonated the identities of real people who say they filed no such comments to the FCC. This is something to keep an eye on. The point is this, there just isn't room to consume it all. So much so that The Daily Show added a segment called "Ain't Nobody Got Time for That." And it's true, we don't. But what happens if you actually have to pay a toll to reach a broader audience, or your ISP gets tired of competing with content creators it doesn't own and starts throttling bandwidth? Isn't this something that should be at least discussed half as much as Russia and healthcare on a regular basis? Isn't this something that affects us all? I mean, red team or blue team, we're all on the internet. My grandma's on the internet. Screaming fire in a stadium is a useful tool, sometimes it's absolutely necessary, but what's more important, the quality of what's revealed once that flame is finally put out, or the significance of what's missed, because we all got caught up watching someone scream fire in the stadium? I don't have the answers to these questions. I know it's Saturday, another TBD. Thank you guys for the support. The channel is growing rapidly. We just crossed 13K subscribers, on our way to 50K. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend, tweet, share it, let people know what's going down on the channel. Also, happy birthday to Ock's grandmother, Miss Sally Montgomery. She just turned 92 years young, still getting jiggy with it. Also, congratulations to Drea B. Drea B is a watcher of the show, friend to the show. We had a conversation on Twitter this week which inspired this conversation. Dre's about to get her degree in mass communications, so give her a shout out in the comment section as well. There's a lot of important things going on, but net neutrality is one of those things that's at the forefront of everything we do every day. Let us know what you think about that. I also want to talk about this Jay-Z album. We were correct last week in last week's TBD with the assumptions, with the predictions that we made about the project. I'm loving it so far. The story of OJ is my favorite track. What do you think? Leave that in the comments section as well. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow @TheCompanyMan on everything. This is just a glimpse into the paradigm shift. TBD.
Hey, hold up. It's Young Buck. I got a quick message for Jay-Z. Next time you see me dropping an album, get out my way, dude. Quit buying up every goddamn thing, bro. Let a young nigga get his ass in, Jay. I get up, turn on the goddamn radio, Jay-Z whole album playing way in goddamn Cashville. Nigga, I dropped 2, nigga. Get out my motherfucking way, Jay. Salute, nigga. But goddamn, let a young nigga eat. 1,000.